Well, hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Johnny, and you're watching Hillbilly Modeling. So this is going to be part 2 of our Diesel Tug by Lindberg here. And in our last video, make a little correction here. I was talking about the bulwarks, which is this tall rail section here, and I think I called it the gunnel, which is actually this reinforcing section of the hull right here that is at the deck level. So that's actually the gunnel right there, and then everything above that is the bulwarks, which is the protective area for the deck. So there we go. Eventually I'll figure out all these terms. Thank everybody that commented and made corrections, and I appreciate that. I do. So let's jump down here. We need to start working on that superstructure. We need to make sure, let me take this off, that we got a good fit right here on our deck because that's kind of an issue. Well, I foresee it as being an issue. Might not be, but it seems like every boat that we've done that has some sort of superstructure has had some sort of fit issue. So let's jump down to the bench and start working on that. So we have 3 pieces here for the sides of our superstructure, or lower superstructure. The first part that we're going to put on. We're just going to kind of mock this up using some Tamiya masking tape here to kind of hold it together. So we tape the front, the big curved section there together, and then the back piece here, we'll just put a little bit of masking tape on that, you know, of course it would help if I got it straight, but anyway, we're just going to see how badly this thing may fit. And as we can see, it's not going to slide on, so it's got to be pushed and pulled and tweaked to actually get it to go right in place there on the deck where it's supposed to. Now I think probably the roof section here is going to help it hold shape. I just want to check that out and see if there's anything that we need to do. I tried heating it a little bit with a hairdryer, but this plastic is so thick that didn't take the bow out, but it kind of straightens itself up once it's on the actual vessel. So we're just going to kind of go with it here. We're going to roll with it. So we'll go ahead and just glue up the front section there, the forward section. And I'm also going to stick in a small spline there of, or just a regular, it's not really a spline, it's just a piece of polystyrene here. We're going to put it over top of that seam in the front, because there's going to be a lot of stress there, because we're going to be really bowing this out. So I just don't, I'm probably doing this more to make me feel better than it's actually going to help, but we'll go ahead and put that in there anyway. Yeah, it makes us feel good. And throw a little clamp on it there, hold it into place until it sets up for us. Now when it comes to the rear section here, I've already let the front set up. We need to do some fitting here because that back panel kind of stands proud of that corner, and I don't want it to do that. I want it to if anything, it can be just a little bit recessed. That way we can sand it down nice and smooth, and there's no seam right on the corner there. So that's what we're going to do there. Just by taking that file and relieving those little recessed tabs, gives us a chance to get that seated in there nice and flush. And we'll throw a little bit of extra thin on it there. Now I'm going to wait until this side is completely set up before I glue the other side. And as you can see, we do have some bends and twists and all that. Well, you know, it's going to be fine. I really, really believe it's going to be okay. So let's go ahead and straighten up the other mating corner there and get that cemented into place now. Yeah, we're just checking the that glue joint there to make sure that that's nice and solid for us. And we need to also make an adjustment here because it doesn't set flush there. Kind of stands a little proud of the side piece. So we're just going to use our file there. I'm going to relieve just a little bit more polystyrene here. And then it's kind of unique how they did the joints here because it is slots and tabs instead of, you know, the normal hole and pin kind of arrangement there. So it would help if I get it into place there. Okay. So we really want it just like we did the other side. It's okay if it sets just a little bit recessed. That way we can sand it down nice and flush. But we don't want that back panel standing proud in that joint because then we'd have to do some filling, and we don't want to get into all that. So just make it as easy as possible for us. So we'll throw a little bit of To Me Extra Thin on it there, and we'll go ahead and set this joint together. So I am just going to go ahead and clamp this together. Now these are the 3-inch X-Acto modeling clamps. They're not very expensive. I think it comes in a set of 4. And they're quite handy. We've used them on several projects. I just want to get this clamped up and make sure that it's exactly positioned where I want that panel. And we're just going to set it aside and let that dry for us. All right, so we've got our sides all glued up here, and we can take our clamps off now. And we need to check and make sure everything is nice and solid for us. And check our fit, which we already know it doesn't really fit that good, but it's at least it's in one piece, and we'll be able to check that seam. The seam on the bottom is and on the top as well are the ones that we're concerned with because we need a good square edge for that top to go down on. As you can see, we got to bow that out quite a bit there. We've got a gap, of course, there at the top and also on the bottom. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to fix this by using a sanding block. Now I'm using a sanding block instead of a sanding sponge, and I'm sanding both sides at the same time. And we need a real 90-degree edge here at the top. Nice flat edge. That way it'll close up that gap with the top that goes on to our superstructure here. So plenty of sanding. Of course, we're going to have to recheck our fit a couple of times and see what our progress is. Now the other thing, we want to make sure that we don't change the profile there because it does have that unique slope to it there, and need a little bit more sanding to get that taken care of, but it's looking pretty good. Now on the bottom, the back side here, that back panel kind of protrudes a little bit, so we're going to have to sand that down and get it flush with the sides. So a little aggressive here, and I think it's about 180 grit or something that I'm using. It takes down that polystyrene pretty quick. So once we get that back panel flush with our sides, we can check and see what kind of gaps that we have around the bottom. And it needs to be flat sanded as well. That way we can get a good fit there. And we're going to do it exactly the same as we did the top section. Just flat sanding it here. And we just want those edges to be flush with the deck. That's our goal, is so that we don't have any gaps, or at least, you know, minimize the gaps as much as we can. And as you can see here, it's closing up nicely for us. Yeah, that'll probably work out for us. So while we're cutting and filing and sanding on everything, we need to fit all of our doors. Luckily, all the doors are the same size, but from the molding process there, the doorways kind of have a little bit of taper on their inside edges there, which makes the hole just a little bit smaller than the part. So we need to open those up a little bit. And once we make sure that all the doors are going to fit, we can go ahead and put our top on, get it spread out there, get it snapped down into place. Yeah. Now, looking right here where the ladder goes, so that's the ladder to climb up to the upper section there. Yeah, the handrail should be over here on the other side. I don't know why the handrail is beneath the ladder. It's behind the ladder. I mean, who would be holding on behind the ladder? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm just going to take a piece of masking tape here and let it run from one handrail over to the other handrail. Kind of give us a reference, because we're going to relocate that because it's just in the wrong spot. So let's move that over. If I can get my tape to cooperate with me here. There we go. All right. So I'm going to inset it about 3 millimeters here from that door opening, because remember now that door is going to overlap just a little bit there. So we got to have enough room for that. And then we'll just measure out a consistent length there, just like so. And we are going to drill some holes. So I need to go ahead and make a mark, a little starting divot there with my X-Acto knife at both ends of where our handrail is going to start and stop, just like so. And with that done, I've chosen a drill bit. Now this is a 0.7 millimeter, which really fits our wire handles, the railing, the wire that we're going to use for the railing there. And we'll just go ahead and drill that out. And we have to do the same thing on the opposite side, because yes, it's in the wrong spot on the opposite side too. So I am checking where the door comes up on this one handrail. I think it's a little too close. So we're just going to move it just a little bit there. So I'll put a line right where I'm going to drill a hole. And we're going to shave off some of this rail, because you need a nice flat surface before you try to drill. Drilling into that molded in handrail is not a good idea, because we'll probably slip off and have our hole in the wrong spot. So I'm going to go ahead and put me a little starter divot there, and we'll go ahead and drill this hole too. Now we have to do the exact same thing to the opposite side, because they are mirror images of one another, and if there's something wrong on one side, it's wrong on the other side too. So, well, we'll shoot us a hole in there, and we'll come to the other end of this handrail here. Going to do the same thing. Going to get us a nice little flat spot here. Just using the chisel to do that. And we can see where the end of the handrail stopped. So we're just going to put us a divot right there. And then we'll grab our drill and drill us another hole. Being careful not to drill through our fingers. That would be bad. we don't want to do that. And with that done, we're going to continue around and set each one of these handrails up by trimming a little flat spot where we can put us a little divot and drill us a hole, because we're going to remove all of these molded in handrails because they look terrible, and it doesn't really line up too good around the front either. So removing these, and we're going to replace all these. So in this front section here, we do need a couple of braces, and we're just going to chisel out a little area there and put us a little divot and drill the hole, and we'll have to put another one on the opposite side too. Now, we're not removing the handrails entirely yet because we're using them as a guide where we need to put our holes. And then once we get all of them drilled, which is the beginning and end of all of our handrails, we can come back in and use our chisel and scrape off most of it. Now, I don't want to get down into the wall there of the superstructure. I just want to get it down close enough to where I can come in with this rounded blade here and kind of just skim off the surface there. And maybe do a little bit of scraping. I'm getting it as close as I can. It's going to eliminate a lot of sanding because we're going to come back in after we get this scraped down and sand off whatever's left nice and flush. Now I'm using a 400 grit sanding stick here, being a little aggressive with it, but it sands pretty quick. And this is the process for every single handrail. So we went ahead and drilled all the ends, so we know all of our locations, so we're fine there. And we're just going to take this down with the 400. And while we're at it, we're going to sand that seam. That was a really bad seam there on the front. Get that rounded off nicely there. So once we get all this sanded with the 400, we're going to come back in with a 600. And we're going to use that to go back over everything and get rid of those deeper sanding marks and replace those with some smaller sanding marks. So once we get everything sanded with our 600, I'm going to come back in with a fine polishing stick. I'm not sure. It's probably about I'm going to guess 1,000, maybe a little finer than that. But it does a real good job of polishing off all of our sanding marks there, or pretty much. We just don't want anything real deep there. And this will allow us to check and make sure that we got all of those molded in handrails removed. And that'll clear the way for us to start putting on some real handrails. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So we relocated the handrails that we needed to, and we've gotten everything sanded down nicely. Doesn't look like we need much filler, just a little bit on the very front. So now I'm going to take my little vacuum cleaner here and clean up all that sanding and trimming stuff that we from all of our modifications here. And if you don't have one of these little desktop vacuums, I suggest you get one because they're really handy and it does a really good job here. All right. Yeah, that's been filled there for us. Next up, yeah, let's just go ahead and put this together. Now, we're not going to cement this to the deck, but we do need to get everything put together and our top aligned on the roof section, and getting it finally put back into place here. And make sure that we didn't miss anything. I think we're in good shape there. So I went ahead and threw on some rubber bands here just to hold everything down so we don't have any gaps. And now we can just go ahead and cement our roof section on to the superstructure here. And yeah, I'm probably using way too much cement, but you know, it's better to have too much than too little. Now, once that dries, we just take our rubber bands off. And it's really funny how this fits so well now that, you know, we got the roof section cemented into place there. So, yeah, all right, that's going to work. So this is our wire. Now, when you go to cut this wire, you don't want to use your your regular sprue cutters, because that would probably damage them and dull them quite a bit. So I'm just going to make sure that I set my sprue cutters out of the way where I won't accidentally grab hold of it. And we're going to be using wire cutters. So this wire is really stiff in comparison to, say, copper, which you can use copper, you can use whatever you like, whatever your preference of wire is. This is jeweler's wire, and it is 0.025 of an inch, which fits into those 0.7 millimeter holes. I almost said 7 millimeter holes, and that would be a very big hole. But it's 0.7 millimeter holes that we drilled to accept our wire. So I'm just kind of getting it kind of straight. Since it's on a spool, we need to straighten it out as much as we can here. And by laying it on my mat and rolling it with a small piece of wood, and as you can see from my knuckles turning white, I'm putting a lot of pressure on it, and it's starting to get those little bends out. I just need to work with it some and roll it out nice and putting a lot of pressure on it there. But the mat the cutting mat that I'm rolling it on helps hold the wire and keep it from sliding. That way we're actually rolling it. Now this process works so much easier and better with copper wire, but it's going to work for us. We just have to be patient here and work it all out there. Now once I get my wire straight enough, we need to make a bend here. And the first handrail we're going to work on is going to be this front handrail, because that one has that curve. And of course, this being wire, it wants to spring back on us. So we're going to have to overbend it in order to get the curve that we want. So I'm going to use that little toothpick holder there to get our bend, because it's going to spring back on us. And you know, if we mess it up, we can always straighten this out another piece of wire. So we're just going to bend it around there, and it's going to spring back. As you can see there, it sprung back. And now we can check our profile here, and that actually worked really well. I'm amazed. All right. Yeah, that's going to work really good for us. Now we don't want our handrails all the way up against the wall of our superstructure there, because you can't get your hand on it. So yeah, I'm just measuring it here, and it's like 0.87 millimeter. Yeah, that's thick plastic card. That's just some stock stuff. And I just cut me some strips out of it. And it's good to have yourself a little supply of polystyrene laying around for whenever you need something. And I'm just going to tape these onto our superstructure here. I don't want them moving around and slipping and you know. So I've got it lined up there at the end hole. And we need to put a couple of more on. We'll put one in the middle, and then we'll also put one on the opposite end, and that'll give us our spacing for our handrail. So we need to start off on one end here, and I'm just going to kind of bend us the little turnout that's going to come out from the superstructure, and we just need to get it in that teeny tiny little hole there. And once I get it pressed in, it'll go. Oh, come on, you can go. What's the hold up here? I think I need to use my pliers. It's not going in. Okay. It'll go. Oh boy, that was painful. Okay. So anyway, we get it in just like so, and we're going to line it up with the two little holes that we had drilled in the front, and then right over top of the hole where the other turn in is going to go. I'm just going to mark it with a permanent marker there. Now once we get that marked, we can take and make our bend, and I'm out of frame. Sorry about that. But I only get one shot to bend this. So it's way too long, of course. So we'll just go ahead and trim a little bit of that off. So now we can go back and put our handrail on. And this will be the final time. It's not coming back off. At least I hope it doesn't come back off. So, yep, just got to line them up and get them pushed into the holes there. And there we go. So that looks good. Now we're going to be using CA glue to secure this because this is metal. And, you know, you can't use polystyrene cement to hold metal to plastic. So just on the inside where the ends of that handrail come through, we'll throw us on some plenty of cement here. And that CA glue is going to hold that secure for us. So I do need to straighten out a couple of little pieces because we do have some attachment points that are going to come out and make sure that it's going to hold that handrail right in place there. We don't want that moving around on us. So we'll just need to have us a couple of short pieces here. So now all we got to do is insert this from the inside. And so the ideal here is it's going to pass through the wall section there and make contact right on the back side of that handrail, just like so. Once we get that in place, we'll throw us a little bit of CA glue on it there. So we'll cement up the back side of it really good. And we'll also come in and put us just a little bit of CA glue there on that connection point there. I know it's a bad angle. Sorry about that. It's hard for you guys to see. So what I have here is some Star Bond accelerator. Build fast, no wait time. Yeah, that's what we need to do. We're going to spray this on there, and that will take care of our CA glue, and it will bond it instantly. And this stuff is really strong, so it use it in a well-ventilated area. Now with everything fixed into place, we can go ahead and remove our little spacer blocks that we have here, or strips. So just pull that tape off there and get those blocks. Now you want to be careful when you're pulling this out and you don't, you know, pry against your handrail. And that's our handrail. So that looks really good. The next most complicated one is going to be the one that goes onto the back wall there of the superstructure. It's going to have two little pieces just like we did here on the front as well. Now, you are going to have some protruding wires, and they're not very even, and I don't think anybody's ever going to see it, but I am going to trim them off. Just don't trim them down too close. So we're going to do the exact same thing along the back wall here. Put our spacers in place. And we'll straighten this out a piece of wire. Put a 90-degree bend on one end. And we'll insert that on one side. And then we can mark it for where we want to bend the other end of it there. And we just pull it back off and set our little pliers here right where we want to bend it. I want to try to make sure that our bends are lined up as best as I can get it. And this is the same process we're going to do for all the other handrails. It's just easier to show you on the larger ones. And once we get that bent, we can just go ahead and reinsert it. Now you can use this process to put grab handles on tanks or handrails on ships, and just it's the same thing really. it all looks the same in the end, I guess. So once we get this all secure, we can go ahead and put our other two little pieces that go into the middle there to kind of space it out. The one thing I do want to show you is that, see how this wire is flat on one end and then it's got a taper on the other? That's because of which side of your wire cutters that you're using. So you got your flat side, and just make sure that the side that you want to connect, or the end I should say, that you want to connect with your handrail has the flat on it. So after cutting a couple of these, we'll go ahead and stick those into place. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we did on the front handrail. Just set it in place, push it through, check our alignment there. And we can just cement these up. Same way we did everything else. So all the railings on the side, we do it the exact same way, using our spacer blocks to make sure that they're all uniform. And they're a lot easier to do because we only have two ends to do on each one of those. And it's just a matter of, you know, rinse and repeat. Okay, so here we go. Got all of our handrails on. Looks good. Kind of raising the bar here for this old kit as much as I can anyway. Yeah, I really like how those have come out. They look really good. And yeah, we did have to move the ones that were behind where the ladders come up the side there. I don't know why they had a handrail behind the ladder. That didn't make any sense to me. So we just moved it. Also, though, I have noticed here, since we do have this roof section on, which shows us where the ladder is, that in the deck, they have these two little holes or divots in the deck. And I guess that's so that the ladders would sit there. Well, we don't need those, so we're going to have to fill those and sand those out. So yeah, so that's going to be it for this video. We'll pick up next Friday where we've left off today. So special thanks to all my subscribers. Just because of you guys, I keep making these videos, and I hope that you enjoy this one. And also, if you are new to the channel and not a subscriber, I hope today I earned your subscription. So go out and get a model and get an old one and see what you can do with it. So we're going to keep working on this one until we get her finished up. So I'll see you guys next Friday. Y'all take care.